Mick Schumacher has found a home at Mercedes for the 2023 season, and although it's a temporary one, it could very well provide him with tons of opportunities in the future. While many thought that Mercedes gave Mick a job just because his father was so influential from 2010 to 2012 for the Berkeley-based team, this is far from the truth. It seems like deeper plans are involved here, and Mick could be back in Formula One sooner rather than later.
It's great. It's great news. I've always felt very close to Mercedes, not only because of the history with my family, but also just because, you know, F3 and the time that I got to spend here when I was younger, and yeah, just the relationship that I have with Toto as well. So, you know, I feel very happy to be a part of it.
After what he suffered with Haas, the lack of trust and the unreliable car that he was given, Mick has failed to retain his position in the USA-based team. What's even more frustrating for him is that he caused 2 crashes, each one costing the team $1 million in Monaco and Jeddah, which definitely put a halt on the negotiations with Gene Haas and Günther Steiner. Yet drivers who ended just the same as Mick, for example Yuki Tsunoda, will have a third shot in 2023, and that hasn't been given to Mick. Fans were really angry about this outcome, calling Steiner a self-centered man and Haas a toxic environment for Mick and any young driver, but nothing much can be changed now. The reality is that Mick lost a starting seat for the 2023 season, and while he has to satisfy himself with the reserve driver role in 2023 with Mercedes, that isn't necessarily a bad thing for him. When you consider Wolff's eagerness to sign Mick as the reserve driver for the coming season, it's hard to not conclude that Wolff has bigger plans for the young drivers than just giving him a couple of rides on empty tracks in 2023. What has been established from the beginning of their relationship is that Mick did not join Mercedes in order to compete in some of the other racing categories in which Mercedes has teams. For example, this is a path that has been followed by De Vries, who became the Formula E champion in 2021 and is looking to make his first full-time appearance in AlphaTauri in 2023. But this isn't even possible for Mick because Mercedes has withdrawn from Formula E as of 2023, as their assets were bought out by McLaren in this championship. Still, one has to wonder why Mick isn't considering spending some time in other championships just to keep the groove going and so that he doesn't lose sight of what is the most important in his career right now, and that is to always remain sharp. Mick will anticipate the Race of Champions event at the end of the month, but when the Formula One season kicks in from March on, it seems like Mick's focus will be purely here, as he is destined to make a comeback from 2024 onwards. Mick spoke about this matter, further adding, "I'm for sure not going to drive anything else as of right now. I'm simply not interested in that. If you get a taste of the best there is, you're not going to settle for anything else, and so definitely I'll be sticking around in the paddock. I'm 99% sure that I'll come to every race and yes, just be around and again, position myself into a place where hopefully in 24 I'll be back in the grid."
Yeah, obviously it's disappointing in some ways because I feel like I've been doing a good job up to this point, and you know, the team decided to go that way, so I have to respect that. And so yeah, I'm focused on the future now.
Well, if there is one team that can definitely help Mick in this scenario, it's Mercedes. Except for Ferrari and Red Bull, the equipment and experience they can provide to the youngster are unrivaled on the grid, and we've seen with De Vries that a spot will always open for someone who spent so much time with one of the most successful teams on the grid. And as we speak, the situation with Hamilton is still not fixed. While the Brit spoke about him continuing the collaboration with the Silver Arrows, it seems like both sides are having a bit of a problem agreeing to the terms, which is something that can be perfectly utilized by Mercedes now that they have an ace up their sleeves with Schumacher. Could it be that Wolff has signed Schumacher deliberately just so that he can pressure Hamilton into agreeing to certain terms that would be good for the team but bad for the 7-time world champion? One could never tell. Just look at what happened with Alonso and Alpine and how the whole situation has unfolded for both sides. But while this is just a hanging piece of rope that Mick is holding on to, he needs to have a better understanding of the reality he is currently in and see all of the other options that are much more likely to become the truth for him apart from the Mercedes situation. For example, Alfa Romeo is soon to be Audi from 2026 on, and it goes without saying that they would be more than happy to employ the son of the 7-time world champion for 2 major reasons. One is we're talking about Mick Schumacher, a young driver who, unlike in Haas, can learn a lot if given the right opportunity and the right equipment. excitement. After all, he did win the Formula 2 championship in 2020, and he is to be treated with due respect. 2. He is German, and we all know how important it is for the team to sign drivers from the native country of the team. Another team that would be more than interested in Mick is Williams, and while they had the opportunity to sign him for 2023 but instead opted out for Logan Sargent, that doesn't necessarily mean that they don't have enough trust in the young German. It's just that the cards they've been dealt lately favor Sargent and Albon, but with Williams being Williams, nothing is certain in that team. With Jos Capito out of the way, and if Sargent fails to perform, given the fact that he finished only P4 in the F2 championship, patience could be very low in the team, and Mick could be presented with the opportunity to compete yet again as a starting driver. After all, Wolff is definitely a guy who is keeping true to his word, and if he has promised to look after Schumacher by adding that there is always a place for a Schumacher in Mercedes as long as he's the leader of the team, then we should trust the old fox. He did say some bad things about Steiner and the way that he treated Schumacher, like, for example, adding that he is from the mountains and the air is thinner there, so he doesn't fully understand the consequences of his actions.
Günther ist der Günther. Der kommt vom Berg, da ist die Luft dünner und da kann man da nicht immer nur so gut nachdenken.
By the way he treated Schumacher, Steiner managed to turn himself from one of the most loved to one of the most despised people on the grid. After all, Haas did sign 2 young drivers in 2021, and now 2 years later, both of them are gone and the team has a veteran duo for the 2023 season. If you aren't willing to commit to the youngsters, then you shouldn't give them a chance in the first place. At least that's how Ralf Schumacher feels, and likely everybody else as well. Apart from Audi and Williams, there is one team that hasn't entered F1 but is rumored to make an entrance from 2026 onward that would be more than happy to provide Mick with a starting seat. We are talking about the hyper-successful Chinese businessman Calvin Lowe, who has been involved in Williams' buyout in 2020 with Doralton Capital. However, his presence in the sport has been kept in the shadows as of now, and when he saw the opportunities that are being presented to the team owners, rest assured that he wants to do this the right way. Entering a sport is always a hard thing, just ask Andretti. He's been trying to do so for 3 years, and now it seems like he'll finally be granted the final amen from the FIA. Mick certainly hopes that the same will happen with Calvin Lowe, who is yet to enter the sport in 2026 when the technical regulations will undergo one of the most significant changes, with more electrification on the way. Still, it seems like Mick's move to Mercedes has cemented his path to seek a return to the sport that will be directly related to the Silver Arrows. At least that's what Audi says. The team has flirted with the idea of having Mick as their starting driver from 2026 on, but with the move that the young German made, it seems like Mick has ruled himself out of contention, according to Adam Baker, the CEO of Audi. Although everyone associates Mick with us, he has chosen to go to Mercedes. We understand his objective was to get back on the Formula 1 grid as quickly as possible. With that being said, we're yet to see where Mick's career will take him, and it will probably be soon revealed where he'll end up. As of now, he is yet to see how his tenure with Mercedes will unfold, but from what we can say from the early signs, things are looking fairly good for the young German driver. What do you think about Mick's engagement with Mercedes? Let us know in the comments below.